All right, Bill from Alberta Eviction here again. I've got another video for you today. We're going to talk about breaking leases. I got a whole list of notes here I got to go through, so we're going to start out with one of the things that I've learned after being a landlord for so long. You know, a lot of new landlords get really anxious when they find out that a tenant is going to be breaking their lease. You know, they've signed a 6-month or a year lease, and you're 2 months, 6 months, 8 months in, and the tenant's going to break the lease. Well, first thing you got to do, you got to de-escalate a lot of this. You know, the big picture, is it more of a headache to fight it than to work with it? And honestly, it's always easier to work with it. So how do you work with it, right? That's one of the big questions we've got right now. Well, you got to explain to the tenants how it works. When they're locked into a year-long lease, as an example, you know, if they're 2 or 3 months in, theoretically, they are responsible for the remainder of the lease. The reality is, you know, it's very rarely enforced for the full term, especially with the market currently, which is pretty landlord leading as far as renting out space. You know, it's your obligation to try and rent it as fast as possible, and it's the tenant's responsibility to get out of there and leave it basically the same way they left it. And you got to find a meet in that middle there somewhere. You know, and that meet is, you know, work with the tenant. If they don't help get a new tenant in for that next month, they may be losing their security deposit. You don't want that to happen. You know, our job as a landlord isn't to keep the tenant's security deposit. It's to have a good relationship with them. Now, there are a couple of parameters that kick in here with this. And before we dig in, you know, here's some thoughts for you. How long has the tenant been there? You know, if the tenant's been there for 3 or 4 years, you got some stuff in front of you anyway. You know, you're going to have to do some renovations. You got updates. You're going to have to paint and fix stuff up. You know, factor that in. You know, make this a clean break. Make sure you can get in early to get all the inspections and get your list of what's going to get done. You know, maybe that's not a bad thing that they're leaving because the market's changed. You got rents that are higher. Will your rent go up significantly? Depending on when you're watching this video, will they go down a little bit? You know, these are things that you got to need to deal with. And circumstances affect how you deal with it, right? How is your relationship? Why are they leaving? You know, what time of year is it? You know, all these questions come into play. You know, if they're leaving because they got a new job in a new city, you got to understand part of that. If they're leaving because they found a place a little bit cheaper, you got to question that. If they're leaving because your place just doesn't work for them, you know, that's a little bit on you. So you got to figure out where you're going to go with this. And the reason I say it's on you, you know, if it didn't fit, you should have been able to determine that rather than just shoveling a tenant into your property. So you work with them. And the longer they've been with you, the more you want to work with them and just move forward with that, right? And if they don't want to work with you, that can change how you dictate some of the rules here. Remember, if they're not going to work with you, their liability is they're going to forfeit their security deposit. What's the downside for you? If they're going to forfeit their security deposit, maybe they're not going to clean up the place. Maybe they're going to leave more damages behind afterwards. So that's where all this working comes into play. You got to remember, tenant turnover is part of the game or the business of landlording. You know, depending on how you think of it, is it a game that you want to win? Yes. Is it a business situation you want to win? Yes, as well. So either way you think about it, you know, it's part of the aspect of what we're playing with. You want to improve as you go along, you want to reduce mistakes, and you want to simply get better. So I'm hoping these thoughts and these ideas help you a little bit. If you found this helpful, do me a huge favor. I mean, it's huge if you like it. It's even huger if you share it. It shows that some of the stuff is working, some of the stuff is helping you out. I'm seeing some big changes with some of my background costs. I've got an email list of information I send out off of the site, and costs are basically doubling off of that. So I'm going to probably ditch that in the very near future. So that could translate into a lot more videos to get information out. And again, if people are liking and sharing this stuff, it tells me that it's helpful. And to add to that, if you have other ideas for stuff you'd like to find out more about, if you'd like me to dive into, go into, to share some stories about, you know, leave a comment down below and tell me what you like about the videos, what you'd like to find out more about, and how I can help you in the future. Hope you enjoyed this. Bill from Alberta Eviction. Check out the website, albertaeviction.com, and have an incredible day.